Let's be real here for a second. We're told every day to eat clean, to work out, to prioritize your wellness and your health. And so we do. We spend the money, we buy the supplements, we track our cycles, but then these same companies turn around and sell us $200 activewear sets that are literally just made out of polyester and nylon, aka plastic. Now think about that for a second. Tight plastic fabric pressed against your body for hours while you sweat. Mind you, this is where your skin's pores are the most open. And now studies are showing that these same fabrics can leach hormone-disrupting chemicals into your body. In fact, one study from the 90s literally showed polyester causing infertility in men. Yeah, that's where we're gonna start. Buckle up, because today we are gonna expose all of the truth on what may be lingering inside of your workout clothes, and most importantly, what is it doing to your hormones? Let's dive into a little bit of the history about polyester. Polyester was never made for health. That was never even the thought behind it. Polyester was made because it was cheap. It actually blew up in fashion decades ago because brands made the realization that it was actually cheap to make, faster to produce, durable, and that they could actually sell it as this miracle fabric. And guess what? Throw some spandex into the mix, call it performance wear, and boom, activewear culture was born. But here's the problem. Polyester isn't just a fabric. Let me give you some insight. I have tests and research here in my hands. Polyester is actually made out of petroleum. Yes, you heard that right. Petroleum. The fabric is actually loaded with things such as dyes, plastics, chemicals, and a little something called antimony. Antimony we'll get into, but antimony is a heavy metal used in the production process of it all. All that combined, when you sweat, when you add the heat, it doesn't just sit there. It leaches in through your skin. So here's where things get really interesting, and you know that I was gonna bring in the receipts. Back in 1992, researchers actually conducted a test on a group of men, 14 to be specific. In this clinical trial, men wore polyester scrotal slings. Sounds completely insane, right? But what they found out after 12 months was actually even worse. Every single participant developed something called azoospermia. Basically, no sperm was found in any of them. At the very end, in this research, scientists actually concluded that polyester acted like a male contraceptive. Mind blown. Now, was that a small study? Yes, it was, but it was actually enough to raise eyebrows back in the 90s. But what's really frustrating here is that instead of researching this fabric more and asking more questions after they had a clinical study like this done, none of that happened. Polyester actually ended up blowing up more in the fashion industry. So here's what we know now. Fast forward today, and we could actually conclude that polyester isn't just fabric, it is now a chemical cocktail. When I was doing my research on polyester and the testing and what has actually come out of polyester, I found a couple of really great tests that were conducted between the years of 2021 and 2022. So I actually narrowed it down to 3 major examples of what this chemical cocktail is all about. And we're gonna start with something called antimony. I mentioned it earlier, but maybe you don't know what that is. Let me educate you a little bit further on what antimony is, because I was shocked. In 2021, toxicology studies showed that polyester textiles can leach antimony into sweat. Antimony now acts like estrogen in the body. You start to think about this. It acts like estrogen in the body. What does that remind you of? That literally reminds you of birth control. Now our little polyester cocktail gets even better. Here's example 2. PFAS. You may know PFAS because we like to call PFAS as those forever chemicals, the ones that just linger around your body forever. In 2022, researchers at the University of Notre Dame actually found PFAS inside of school uniforms. Now, These are the same PFAS that are linked to things like fertility issues, thyroid disruptions, and even cancer. Further along with their testings, they actually found PFAS in leggings, sports bras, and if you thought that wasn't bad enough, let's move on to our third ingredient in our chemical cocktail, BPA and phthalates. California labs tested socks, sports bras, and actually found BPA levels in those items above the safety limits. These are the same chemicals found in plastic water bottles and plastic food containers. You know, the ones that they preach to you not to have in your fridge or not to carry around in your car. Yeah, those are actually found now in our activewear. And knowing all this, they're still labeled and marketed as health and performance clothing. And here's the final kicker to all of this: dermal absorption. It's exactly what it is. Your skin is the largest organ in your body. Your skin is basically absorbing all of this chemical mess. New studies actually show that PFAS and phthalates could travel straight through your skin barrier, especially with heat and sweat. And that's what happens on the daily when you go to the gym in these tight synthetic fabrics. This is what gets me so infuriated about all of this, because it's really hitting home for women where it truly affects them the most in their hormones. And I hate to say it, but endocrine disruptors, they don't care if you're eating clean or you're tracking your macros. They mimic estrogen, they block progesterone. Now, maybe you're sitting here today and you're watching this video and you're like, okay, Prissy, thanks for all the information, but like, I don't even know how these issues show up in my daily life. Well, let me fill you in on how these endocrine disruptors are silently making their way in, and maybe you're not even noticing. They could show up in ways like irregular cycles, infertility, weight gain, weight changes, mood swings, acne, and sadly, these are the very same things that so many women today are struggling with the most. I mean, take a look at the stats and the rates. We are the one generation that has struggled the most with women's health, with issues with infertility. It's absolutely crazy. So you already know how much I love mainstream media. However, what I do find really interesting here is that there was an article that was published by The Guardian. Basically, the entire published piece was just to show how gym clothes like polyester and nylon leach toxic chemicals when we sweat. This is not conspiracy anymore. This is facts. These things are really happening to women. What I find so interesting about this article being published on this specific topic is that we're finally seeing mainstream media outlets catching up with what researchers and scientists and even women have been complaining about for decades. And yet, the wellness industry actually stays pretty quiet about this entire subject. Why? Polyester is super profitable to them. And I highly encourage all of you, when you're shopping for activewear, to take a look at the fit and fabric that's always listed on the website, because you'll find a breakdown of what the fabric is actually made out of. Brands don't just know all of this information, but they actually cover it up. Haven't you noticed that a lot of these brands will slap around words like eco-friendly, sustainable, even call collections like the Conscious collection on polyester blends? Adding recycled plastic water bottles, because basically that is what a polyester blend is, into your leggings does not make it safe for your hormones. It just makes their marketing shinier. That's not sustainability, friends. That's just greenwashing. They're selling women on health and empowerment while handing us fabrics filled with hormone disruptors. So maybe you've known this information for a little bit, or maybe you've started to become kind of aware of how bad these fabrics are. And you're thinking, okay, I gotta go home and completely throw out all of my closet. No, you don't have to do that, but here's what you can do. I'm gonna give you a couple tips. For next to skin pieces, meaning like your sports bras, your leggings, yes, your underwear, because that is a whole other animal. You want to look for more of the natural fabrics, things like organic cotton, merino wool, or even tencel. Secondly, a lot of these brands, if they are conscious about these fabrics, they will put up the fabrics certifications, and one of them is actually the PFA-free certification. Now, it's not perfect, but it's actually a really good start. Now, my third tip is probably a little obvious because maybe you do this at home when you go out and you buy new clothing, new workout wear. I would highly suggest that you stick them in the wash before you actually wear them. What this does is it actually reduces the chemicals in the fabric before you put them on your body and you sweat for the first time in them. And lastly, my last tip is actually something that you could do to minimize the polyester wear. This is actually one of my worst pet peeves. I have never been able to understand how women spend 24/7 in workout wear, especially workout wear that's made out of polyester fabric. They put it on in the morning, they work out, and they go the rest of the day in that same workout outfit. Maybe you're like, ew, gross, that's nasty. I don't know how anybody could do that after they work out, but girl, I have seen it done. My suggestion here is don't do that. Don't wear your polyester workout wear 24/7. Give your body a break, rotate on the fabrics. It's actually really good to have a different blend of fabrics in your closet. Just give your body a break. Overall, in my own personal health journey, something that I've learned is that the small swaps really do matter, and they really get you into the habit of researching things and being more conscious about what you're putting on your body and what you're putting in your body. What you wear does affect you. And in this case, I guess you are what you wear. I like to call that the silent contraceptive that none of us asked for. Women deserve better. And I have to say, so do men. This is actually happening in men as well. We all deserve better. Feel free to check the description down below because I've left the studies that I referenced to in this video so you can check them out for yourself. Go ahead and share this with a friend because I honestly believe that women need to start waking up more to this reality. The more that we all wake up to this, the harder it is for brands to sell us on this lie. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will catch you in our next one.